We really enjoyed ourselves making this picture. I don't know if you could tell when you watched the movie. And it was a flick that, you know, now that it's kind of done with its theatrical life and it's here on DVD, we have the perspective to look back and see what was accomplished with Clerks 2. And we got the best reviews we've gotten in years, which isn't saying much because, you know, one good review we would have gotten would have been 100% improvement on the reviews we got on Jersey Girl. But it was really well reviewed. Finally got the New York Times back on our side.
Yep.
Did almost 5 times our budget at the box office.
Yep.
And you know, there were, of course, there's always vocal minorities saying you suck, but generally people seemed to feel like it stood shoulder to shoulder with the first Clerks, and some people felt it was the best film we've ever made. Yep. Which I guess isn't really saying that much either. But we love the movie. But sometimes when you're in the midst of making the movie, you can't, you know, it's just you're cruising forward on the volition of the project. You don't get to savor the moments of how it happened. How did this come to be and whatnot? And that's where a DVD documentary comes into play. Some DVD documentaries, you know, they give you 20 minutes of a featurette. Fuck that. We here at View Askew tend to overcompensate for everything because our dick's very small. So we tend to make everything else.
That's everybody together.
Yeah, it's the whole fucking crew. We're all like this and
glue
shit.
all our penises
Imagine
together.
having that sword fight in your mouth, you wouldn't even notice. You know, you'd have 6, 7 guys fucking you in the mouth. You wouldn't even know.
It'd be like 12 raisins fluffing around.
Pretty much raisins you might even pick up. The only way you'd figure it out, you get a mouthful of semen afterwards. Where'd that come from? And then we'd all be like smoking a cigarette in the corner of the room. That's how we roll. So here is a 90-minute documentary about the making of Clerks 2 entitled Back to the Well, Clerks 2, in case by this point on the DVD you weren't sure what the documentary was going to be the making of. We threw the Clerks 2 in there because it could be misleading. You might forget watching it going like, is this Fight Club? Trust me, nobody's going to mistake this picture for Fight Club. No. This is a documentary that Joey and Zach, the guys that did the Trainwreck, that they did. It is a fantastic piece. If you like what we do, you'll like it probably. And you'll also just enjoy seeing how it all came to be. See how the whole Clerks 2 thing came to life and sparked to life and how it was made and what happened for us to get into the theaters. Is pretty damn engrossing stuff. And you know, I like I said, awesome to sit there and watch stuff because I forgot things that happened. Absolutely. I was sitting there going, really? That was fucking, Rosario Dawson was in the movie? You know, just everything goes by so quickly. Yeah. You don't really get a chance to process it. So watching this documentary, man, I was able to process. It was like going back in time. It was like jumping in the Wayback Machine. And I was Sherman and you were Peabody. A dog and his boy. You could be Sherman if you want.
No,
you could be Peabody if you want.
No.
Dog with glasses. I just got glasses. Peabody's got the glasses.
I started contacts, so now I
so you gave up the right to be Peabody.
I did.
So no bitching from you. So jump on in the Wayback Machine and check out Back to the Well, Clerks 2. See how it all came to be. What do I do now that I'm a grown-up? I don't know. I think some people expect that because I said, oh, this is the last movie with these characters, that we're now not going to do comedies. We'll still probably do comedies, but they just won't feature the same characters. It won't be set in the same universe. It won't be a Jay and Bob appearance anywhere. I think I'll probably wind up doing stuff like Chasing Amy, which is a mixture of comedic and the serious or the dramatic, because that's the kind of stuff I'm really interested in. That's the kind of stuff I really dug. In post on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is where we're kind of done with the Jersey movies, kind of came to the fore, because it was getting harder and harder to clean Jason Mewes up in advance of every film.
Kevin was going to put the kibosh on the characters because of my drug use and how hard it was to, you know, get me sober and all that stuff, the whole process of it.
And we had fights, and it was just heartbreaking. Like, the dude was just too dialed into heroin. At that point, I started talking very openly about this is it. This is the last View Askewniverse movie. We're shutting it down. It seems like a great idea to go out on a Jay and Silent Bob movie. You know, the guys who'd always been in the background of every movie suddenly had their own feature. And so we're done after this.
I guess I agreed with him. Definitely, I understood why he was saying that and why he'd want to do that, because it was a pain.
And at the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, we went so far as to have, after the end credits, God standing there, comes out to like this big View Askewniverse Bible, and then she closes it and, you know, dances off. However, even when we were shooting that, I always kind of left in the back of my mind like I might want to revisit this territory because I love those characters that populate the Askewniverse. They're my characters, of course I love them. And I always wanted to leave a back door. So if you look at the book, there's a bookmark in it. And the page that it was open to that she closes is right in the middle of the book. So yes, she closed the book, but there's, you know, this much more to go.
It's funny because you take that one moment, you take Jersey Girl, and try to pick apart why it led into Clerks 2, and I think there's a lot of reasons. It was the first movie that we sort of made outside of our way of doing things. Like, there's a lot of things that we didn't do our way. You know, we had an Academy Award-winning director of photography. We had big-time celebrities.
The equal part of the equation of making the movie, aside from telling a great story or something that's real close and personal to your heart, is the experience of making it with all these people and getting along and like chumming it up and having a great time. And Jersey Girl wasn't that. There were so many issues dealing with that movie, and you were dealing with egos too, and it was just like...
On that movie, we kind of not only were making something that was trying to be a little bit more commercial, but we also made it under the circumstances of how people do that. We sort of sit out on the fringe a little bit. I don't think we sort of are nestled comfortably into the Hollywood sort of movie-making scene. We do things a little bit differently. We make movies that don't appeal to everyone in the world.
So we wound up making Jersey Girl for $35 million. It only grosses $25 million, which is disappointing. It's not a flop, but it's disappointing. But we followed the $6 million grossing Gigli, you know, which was a tough uphill battle because that movie was so roundly hated and despised and mocked and shit like that. It was like the new Ishtar.
I think it got away from us, you know, and I think that's the worst feeling that came out of it.
And, you know, I don't bear any malice or ill will toward Ben and Jen. It wasn't their fault. They didn't want to fucking torpedo the flick. They wanted to see it do well. We all loved the movie. But at that point, I was just like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to make a movie where the tabloids are seizing upon the backstory of who fucked who on the movie and not talking about the movie itself. Like, the movie was almost an afterthought.
You know, we had a hard time defending our position because there's so much money out there, and we just got squashed and just kicked around and beat up.
Like I said, some people could bag on the flick, but like, spent 2 years of my life making that flick, and it really meant something to me.
If you look at Jersey Girl, it's like a bunch of things happening at once. One, we're making a movie under circumstances we don't normally make movies, and I don't think that was a good thing. I want to quit because I'm exhausted. Kevin's closed the door on the view of Askewniverse, and all the shit that happened just sort of brought it all, kind of brought everything to a screeching halt where you stop and you go, all right, well, what the fuck am I going to do?
While we were in post on Jersey Girl, Harvey Weinstein came and watched the movie and loved it, and he said to me, like, we have this Green Hornet movie, and I know you like comics. Do you want to direct it? And I was like, whoa, nobody had ever offered me something, you know, like that before. It was pretty huge, a comic book movie.
I felt like Kevin wanted to do it for all the right reasons, because he was a fan of the character, because he had a really, he had a great take on the material. He kept it really fun, but also, you know, wrote really smart characters. And
the license was coming up, so they needed to get a movie started.
And I was excited, and they were excited, and everyone was excited.
Kevin sort of started focusing on Green Hornet.
And then when the dust settled, I was sitting there going, I don't want to make this movie.